All right, everybody. Welcome to the August meeting of the Node.js Board of Directors. That says June because I forgot to edit that. Damn it. It's copy and paste problems. This says August properly, but it says the wrong date. It's the 29th. This is terrible on my part. Anyway, this was the dial-in. Thank you all for joining us. Antitrust compliance notice. Everybody should be familiar with this at this point. If you're not, or you have any questions about the antitrust compliance stuff, make sure to talk to Andy Updegrove, our attorney. Checking out our member directory, we had Cars.com and Dynatrace get announced in the last few months, so that's been great, expanding the silver membership. And we're actually at 20 now, which is something of a milestone, so that's great. First resolution, that the minutes of the public session from June, meeting of the Board of Directors in the form attached here to as Exhibit A are confirmed, approved, and adopted. Can I get a motion and a second?
Yeah, motion to approve the minutes.
And second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstaining? And the minutes are adopted unanimously. All right. Moving along, let's welcome our new silver directors. So we just had the silver election, and Brian McAllister was re-elected for another one-year term. And now that we have 20 members, we get 2 silver reps. And Justin Beckwith was also brought on. So why don't you guys say hi? We can say hi back.
How's it going, folks? Excited to join. Good to see everybody again.
Yeah, awesome. All right. So resolution here that the board hereby acknowledges the election of the following individuals by the silver members to serve as silver directors as defined in the bylaws. Brian McAllister from Groupon and Justin Beckwith from Google. Can I get a motion to approve and a second?
Motion to approve.
Yeah, second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Do I get a vote on this one?
You can't.
Yeah. Any opposed? Any abstaining?
I do.
Then
Yeah, Brian should probably abstain, right?
Brian abstains.
Yes.
All right. And it passes, and Brian can vote now. All right, great. So TSC election is coming up. I'm going to turn it over to Rod now and let him talk a bit about this. Rod, you want to get on?
Yeah. I sent out an email about this, but basically we're a little bit late on the process. We should have done this a bit earlier, but by our next meeting, which is going to be next week, we will have held an election to formally formally elect a new TSC director for this position. So I'm holding it for this week, just to end out my previous term. Along with that, we're talking about the TSC chair position, as they're 2 different things. But the current proposal on the table is to have the same person do the same role, but actually in terms of chairing meetings and facilitating the ongoing business of the technical organisation, we're going to share that out amongst a lot more individuals within the organisation, so doesn't fall on one individual, and we can raise up a bit more leadership within the group. So that's the status of things. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Rod, are you running again?
I am running again.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Next
Sounds
slide,
like
please.
that's all taken care of. Anything else from the TSC that you wanted to bring up, Rod?
No, not in this meeting, I don't think.
Okay, great. Okay, so there's one more. Actually, here I'll let Rod take this on again. This is a request from the TSC and the Inclusivity Working Group to the board. So, Rod, you want to explain this?
Sure. So this is a request from the TSC to the board to instigate an investigation to ways the foundation can improve inclusivity and diversity activities across the whole Node Foundation efforts, including the technical effort as well. So we're looking to the work has been going on in the technical side, but we'd like to have the foundation investigate how that can be done above that. So lift it up to the foundation level and do it as a more holistic approach with proper resources. There is a document that goes along with this that I did send out a link to via email that explains it more in detail, but it's also contained in on GitHub in the TSC issue number 133. So issue number 133, that's where most of the text for the request comes from. Are there any questions?
So how do you envision this working at the board level? You want it to be a full board committee?
Look, I don't know. That's open for discussion. I think the best outcome here is simply to have the executive's resources applied to this. So I don't know how much the board needs to be involved, but the board needs to approve, I think, the activity of the executive in this area.
Okay. I've had some conversations in the last month with various parties that are working to reconstitute the Inclusivity Working Group. And it seems like they have some recommendations that they want to make. And for the rest of you on the board, there's probably some spend associated with some of what they're recommending. But I think that most of what they're recommending is incremental and reasonably digestible. So I do think that in order for it to be a board activity, we probably would need someone from the board to step up and serve on the as a board liaison or head, or I forget what the actual terminology is.
And also preemptively, I mean, Tracy has been working on taking a lot of that feedback that you've been hearing and kind of collating it, but not like coming up with anything definitive until the board weighed in on more direction. And this whole request got.
Yeah, no, Tracy's one of the people I spoke to. She's definitely working hard on getting those suggestions collated.
So I think what I would like out of this is simply for the board to authorize the Michael and Tracy to come back with a proposal for the board for how things can be structured and what resources are required, and whether that involves having a board committee, like that can be part of a recommendation and we can take that or leave it. But simply request for that activity to be officially undertaken.
Fair enough. Board, do you have any other questions, or is there clarification that you need before you let them go off and develop recommendations on our watch?
Well, maybe one person from the board ought to participate in even that part of it, just to make sure that we have continuity and we bring information back during the process of putting it together. Is that something that you would want to do, or have available into it? It seems like
I have made the offer.
So this is Ashley speaking. I already have been working closely with Tracy on this. I don't know if the board considers that board participation or not. But I do think one of the questions, and I think Rod's recommendation is best, is there's a question of whether or not the people who make up the board are necessarily in a position to come up with this plan well, whereas I think putting it in the community manager's hands will be able to figure out best what the first steps are. I know that one of the suggestions already is a diversity training, and it may be that having people from the board participate in this before the training may or may not make any sense. So I like the idea of putting it in Tracy and Michael's hands and having them come give a proposal that we can vote on.
Well, in some organizations, we've even seen it where, to even go and formulate the recommendation, we bring in an outside entity to help with looking at the community and talking about things that are, useful to the process of putting something in place and trying to steer the community. I know the OpenStack Foundation brought in some outside people at one point. I think the Linux Foundation has looked at using those same people. I mean, is there something that we could do to piggyback off of the efforts of, bringing in the experts who go out and participate and do these things?
So,
Imagine.
Ashley,
Sorry.
are you actively involved now?
I'm not actively involved with the Inclusivity Working Group anymore, but I still run Node Togethers, and I'm very close with Tracy and have conversations about this actively, given that I go to every Node Live event and do the education events. In that way, I'm actively participating. The Inclusivity Working Group is kind of in a transition state a bit right now, which is partially why this ask to the board is happening.
Can you guys hear me?
I can.
Hi.
Yeah,
Awesome. Okay, sorry, it's Tracy. I just wanted to make sure. I love the idea of, I know, I've had conversations with Denise and Ashley especially around, and Rod as well, around these types of things that will move towards a proposal. I think it would be very beneficial. I think it was Todd who had recommended that someone from the board participates. They don't need to be, clearly Michael or myself and Michael will work on that proposal, and it would be awesome for a board member to participate or at least be checking in. I would love to talk to them about that, because ultimately what I see this proposal is going to be is that there will be ownership, not in the sense of tasks and work to do so much as needing representation from every part of the project, so that would be the board as well, to make sure that everyone's on the same page, like what we need to do moving forward to make these changes. So I would want to make sure that there's at least one board member who's sort of on board and helping to champion what we're talking about, and to make sure that we're not off base.
So given that it's going to come back to the board anyway, and Tracy and Michael are going to need buy-in from the board, can I suggest that maybe people that have an interest in this area simply make themselves available? Let Tracy know that you have an interest in this area and following the progress, and then they can follow up with those people to make sure they're on board, to get feedback along the way before it. I don't know if it needs to be an official thing, but simply, raise your hand if you want to have a voice in here.
Yeah, I think that's very reasonable, Rod. And I've seen others do it that way, so I would agree that, and certainly you can put me down as one of the interested parties. I've participated in this activity in other organizations, as I know Ahmad has as well too, and I know Denise has. So, certainly happy to stay in touch with it and make sure that whatever we've learned other places we can share.
I think it's really important. I really like that suggestion, Todd, that more than one person from the board be this liaison, because I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that the board is not necessarily unified on these topics.
Okay. Well, then let's have whoever else. You got my name. Whoever else you would like to is certainly willing to work with.
Excellent. Noted. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Colleen. I'll participate too if you need someone else. Be happy to.
Great. Thank you, Colleen.
And this is Brian. I'd be happy to help out if I can.
Yeah, this is Justin. I actually want to go dig in and figure out what other work Google has done here. I'm guessing there's some prior art that we may be able to go use. I'd be happy to help out and get that information back.
Great. Okay. Cool.
Great. Sounds like that's all resolved. We'll get out an email to everybody who just signed up and move forward from there and have something ready for the Node Interactive meeting for sure. Great.
The European one?
Yes,
or the Austin one?
No, the European one
Okay.
in a few weeks. Yeah, we'll have something ready by then.
Okay.
Cool. All right, moving along. So, Node in the media coverage dropped significantly over the last few months. Basically, a summer slump, as we can see it also happening with Java coverage. I really do wish that I had sentiment analysis for the Java coverage because that we know that spike was from poor coverage, but I'm curious about what the rest of it is. Any questions about media articles in general? Here.
Do we have a plan for a new PR push in the fall?
Well, yeah, I mean, next month we'll have a big one around interactive. We have announcements going out during that time. We have a bunch of reporters that are going to be there, and then we'll be rolling that into even more stuff that'll happen probably in Austin as well. So, yeah, there's definitely going to be a really big push. Lately, we've been pushing a lot on the analyst front actually. So that's where we've been pushing on getting people signed up for interactive and on analyst stuff. So.
Cool.
All right, so moving along a little bit, some media and communications highlights. So we did 2 of these enterprise conversations with Groupon and with Lowe's. They're both really good. The Lowe's one was particularly interesting just because it's not a company that you associate necessarily with technology, so it was really interesting to hear what they had to say. There's been a big push for Node Interactive, both with these only at Interactive series on Medium, as well as for the first time, we're using these Twitter cards to promote on social. And also, we had 2 case studies go live in the last few months. We had the NASA case study finally go up and the Fusion Marketing case study go up. So that's been great. Any questions about this?
So one of the things that we've done in other places ahead of events has been to, set up a Twitter sort of tweet chat kind of thing, right? Where we get a bunch of us together and have questions come in from the audience as well as pre-canned questions to sort of have discussion to, raise awareness and get people sort of interested in the event. Obviously, the next one coming up is in Europe. It sounded like the attendance really wasn't all that high yet. Maybe there's something we can do there to do some promotion as well, other than just the Twitter cards.
So you mean promoting to get people to the event, or Twitter activity during the event?
No, to get people to the event. Okay. Basically just raising awareness. Hey, we're here, and it's going to be a big push in Europe, and and you have a dialogue, and what questions are significant to the European audience, so that we can do a better job ahead of the event to bring the right things here. Oh, by the way, here's the stars that we have lined up to be there. Yeah, no,
it's like it's almost like an infomercial, Michael, but you do actually answer substantive questions. And if we do it in Twitter, the questions should probably be, or most of the questions should probably be queued up beforehand.
Yeah.
And then there's sort of 140 character at a time discussion that ensues, right?
Right. So we had planned to do a quick Twitter Q&A just with me to promote it, but it would be great to get more of the members and other people involved as well. So anybody on the call right now that wants to sign up to do one of those, and then we'll extend from there.
Well, so if you're interested, I can put you in touch with somebody who's done that before, at least for us, and can walk you through it just to see if it would fit.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I mean, yeah, we plan to do at least one of these. It'd be great to do even more.
Okay.
Michael, I'm happy to help with one.
Yeah, we've also got a bunch of people that are getting on podcasts pretty soon too, so to promote it. So that'll be.
Yep, podcasts are good.
One thing I might add, just to maybe get more speakers involved as well, and it's a little bit less time consuming, especially given the time zone differences, would be just doing like blog posts where you have interviews with speakers. That creates like really nice promo material, and it's often a good way to get the speakers to promote themselves. I know that we're doing the Twitter cards thing, but it's kind of weird for an individual to tweet a post like a picture of themselves, but having them tweet a blog post where they answer questions is like totally reasonable. Like I have a Twitter card made for me, and like I feel like tweeting that picture is going to be weird, but if it's like a blog post where I like answer questions, I think that's going to be like a much more shareable bit. The Twitter like AMA situation is really neat. However, it usually is such that it's like impossible to kind of like share and retweet because it's such a heavy thread. So if we want to create like shareable chunks, these like interview blog posts, I've seen lots of community conferences do them and have a lot of success.
Yeah, we're kind of doing that with Only Interactive. We're digging in a bit, but it's not quite as easy as a Q&A. It's a little bit more time consuming. So maybe we can send that over to the PR folks and see if they can take that on. Cool. All right, moving along. Let's see here. Updates on events. So we had the London and Boston events for Node Live. So far, these have been some of the best attended ones other than China. So that's been great to see. Really good feedback on both Boston and London. The videos from London just went up actually, and they've been really, really huge. So that's been great. As you know, Node Interactive is about 3 weeks away in EU, so that's exciting. Everybody that can pitch in, please pitch in for just promotions and getting people there. And I appreciate the suggestions. I'll follow up later this week on all the stuff that we just talked about. And then for the US, we actually have selected the talks now, so those emails are going out to the speakers right now, and we should get a schedule up not too long from now. So any questions on the current events? All right, cool. Moving along.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute.
That's okay.
Something I wanted to say was because we don't always talk about it and you don't list it as an event here, but we did Node Togethers at both London and Boston and had a ton of people apply, and we got a lot of media coverage out of it, and they went like extremely well. So just know that those happened and worked great at both getting a more diverse audience at those Node Live events and also just getting a more diverse crew interacting with Node.
Yep, those are great. Okay. Let's move into the 2017 events plan. So I just want to run some ideas by everybody and then come up with a much more formal plan, including budgeting for our meeting in September. But one of the things we've been talking about is cutting back to a single event, just a single large US event, not doing an EU or kind of different event, and targeting September in sort of a low-cost US city. For the live events, we really want to kind of increase our bang for buck there. So reducing the basically how much money that we have to spend to go to each one. So doing something more like a tour. So doing 3 or 4 cities in China, and then a few months later, maybe 3 or 4 months later, going to Europe and doing another 3 or 4 cities. So that's sort of our plan there. And I wanted to get anybody's feedback on how they feel about that.
Michael, I know you and I have probably already discussed this before, but I think that this is like an excellent idea and is going to help with the kind of like fatigue that I think everybody has been having around the events who are like participating in them. I think we'll have a lot better options to like really create like a solid impact instead of kind of swooping into individual cities. So I really like this idea.
And if we need to look at another organization to see how successful this has been, especially with a single event and low-cost city model, you can look pretty easily at Ruby and Rails, right? I mean, I think they're pretty much down to, there's Rails Conf, which I think was in, Kansas City, and then Ruby Conf is coming up, and it's in like Cincinnati. For better or for worse, they've kind of taken the same approach of combining them. So it may be worth talking to someone in that camp and seeing how it's worked out for them, positives.
Well, the difference with the Ruby community, though, is that the Ruby international community is huge, and like Ruby Kaigi is the official one, and that happens in Japan. So I think the only pushback we'll see here is that it's extremely America-centric as regarding that single large U.S. event. But like Ruby has a bunch of large conferences that are totally international. So I'm not sure this is really following in their footsteps.
Yeah, I think here is, so are the Ruby conferences all, I hate using this phrase, but like a part of the official like conference organization, or are they community conferences that are supported by the overall like international community?
So Ruby Kaigi is official,
okay,
and that happens in Japan. But a lot of the other ones are community conferences.
Okay, yeah, I think that's the idea, is that like there would be like one flagship with, because then we're also not choking out these fun community, cool community conferences that are happening. So yeah, that's good to know about the Rails community though. Like, it's nice to hear prior art and be able to look into it.
I mean, if we're going to lean on the community organized conferences, we should try to make sure to help support them.
A+ to that. I think that would be super excellent.
Yeah.
Representing
In
the community
what way?
here, that would be great. Financially is the way conferences need help.
Yeah.
Money.
That's what conferences always need.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've tried to do that in the past, but it's really difficult to select who to sponsor, being that there are so many, without kind of playing favorites and things like that. So that's one of the challenges that we've had in the past. But we can definitely talk about that in the next meeting when we start discussing budget and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm happy to have conversations around that too, especially having done this with my own nonprofit, is sort of setting guidelines for what you will support and what you can't. I mean, it makes it easier that we're a nonprofit, so we have to follow certain guidelines anyway. In terms of like who you can give money to, I would assume.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just as an application process, that sort of thing. But yeah.
Cool. I think that we can leave that there, and now I think that we should use our little bit of time here, maybe 2 minutes, to take any questions from the live chat. Ashley, would you mind telling me if there's any open questions there for the board?
It's no problem. I was already prepared to do it. However, it looks like there was a question on ES6 modules, which somebody already responded to, saying that that's not really in scope for this conversation. And then beyond that, there was a small comment about audio and then how to pronounce your name. And otherwise, it's all quiet on the YouTube front.
It's Michael, and I'm aware that my audio only comes in the left channel. I need to fix that in some kind of random audio streaming thing that I'll have to figure out before the next meeting. Those are the answers.
Yeah. One thing I might ask, since we do have Rod on the call, is there a good place for people who are interested in learning more about the ES6 module continued conversation to look? I know the TSC has been broadcasting their meetings, which is like a great way to, I think, get involved. But is there anywhere else in particular? I know people care about that quite a bit.
Yeah, so we the modules discussion is so big that it hasn't been making a huge presence in our normal meetings, so it's actually not even the best way to catch up on ES modules discussion. There is the most relevant work is actually happening in the Node-EPS repository. So that's EPS stands for Enhancement Proposals, S for plural. So in the Node-EPS repository, there's the original proposal for ES modules interop, and now there's a new one from Bradley Meck with some recent updates that's very interesting. So if you go to the Node-EPS repository, under the GitHub org, you will find one that is issue number 39, which is rewriting the original proposal to take into account some new stuff that has come back from TC39. It's all very complex, and I don't even have my head around it all, but it's interesting stuff in there.
That's amazing coincidence that it's a collaboration kind of with TC39 and it's issue 39. I'll tweet this out so people can see it. Thank you for that.
Yeah, just be warned, it is incredibly complicated. Yeah, there's a lot of weird gotchas really, really deep in the implementations of both module systems. So I think that now we're out of time. We got to pop into the executive session now. Can I get a motion to close?
Motion to close.
All right.
Second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Oh, and we're closed. That's unanimous. Okay, bye.